I would remind everyone that according to the State Government Ethics Act, as your name is called, we must declare whether you have or have not have a conflict. This time, Angela, please call the roll.
I am, and Commissioner Yates is trying to log in right at this minute, so I'm sending him the information as well.
Okay.
Chair Cahoon,
Present, no known conflicts.
Neil Andrew,
Present, no known conflict.
Larry Baldwin,
Present, no known conflict.
DR Bryan, DR, are you there with us? Bob Emery.
No known conflict.
Thank you, DR. Bob Emery, Jordan Hennessy, Robert High,
Present, no conflict.
Sheila Holman,
Present, no known conflict.
Steve King, Lauren Solder, Steve Shuttleworth, Earl Smith,
I'm present, no known conflicts.
and Robbie Yates. That's 7, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time during this busy season to attend the special meeting. I'm not going to have any comments. I'm going to turn it over for the variance, which is DOT, Highway 12, P Island, Dare County, pertaining to sandbags. Christie, we're starting with you or Mr. Lane?
All right. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Very
Yes.
smallly.
Okay. I'm not sure how to make it big because I'm working from 2 different computers. And unfortunately, the PowerPoint's on the other computer.
Okay.
I would recommend that all the commissioners X out the participants, and that will make the screen bigger. Try that.
Well, the problem is if I'm talking, it'll be my face on my phone instead of the PowerPoint on. What all of the commissioners do have the PowerPoint presentation at the end of the packet.
Yes.
So that is another option.
See, this is Daniel. I can also share here. I've got a PowerPoint on my computer. Looked up.
Christie, I see it on the screen. I believe we have the screen now, Christie, for you to continue.
Okay. All right. Good morning. I am DEQ Assistant General Counsel Christy Goebel, representing Division of Coastal Management staff in this variance at the special meeting today. Also with us is Special Deputy Attorney General Colin Justice, who represents the Department of Transportation in this variance. And we're going to go ahead and start with DOT Field Rep Stephen Lane walking us through the PowerPoint slides. And Stephen, I think mine is the slideshow that everybody's looking at. So please just tell me to fast forward the slides as you need, okay?
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commission members. Again, as Christy said, I'm Stephen Lane. I'm the DOT Transportation Projects Field Representative for Division 2 and 3. Also assist in Division 1 as needed, as is the case here. So I'll just be going through the slides just to familiarize you with the project site. This first slide, I think they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And so this is a photo from the webcam at the PI Visitor Center. This was taken around November 15th when the coastal storm was rolling through. This is looking north from the visitor center at the project site. Next slide. Here's from the same webcam, November 15th as well during that coastal storm. This is looking south. You can see the edge of pavement, the Highway 12 there being eroded by the waves during the storm. Next slide. This is the general vicinity of Peon National Refuge Visitor Center. So about a third of the way down Peon from the inlet there towards Rodanthe. All right, next slide. This is a closer up view of the visitor center there. As you can see, it's on the immediately on the west side of Highway 12 on Peon. Next slide. This slide is showing the historical shorelines between 1852 and 2020. That farthest one out is the 1852, and you can see it's just accelerated, over the years, and currently is right there next to Highway 12. Next slide. This slide is showing the erosion rates in the vicinity of the project. As you can see, typically in the 7 foot to 9 foot range per year in the project vicinity. Next slide. Here's a photo of the south end of the project looking north. There is a little bit of vegetation on top of the dunes at the very end, approximately last 100 feet or so, has some vegetation on top. Next slide. This is the more typical situation. You can see where DUT has having been, create the sand dunes, pushing the sand up and bringing sand in as needed as it gets washed away. They're trying to putting the sand up there just to do what they can to protect the NC-12 right there by the visitor center. And again, this is typically bare dune except for the north and south ends. So this is the majority of what the site looks like as far as the typical dune at the site. Next slide. This is a photo looking west, right there at the crosswalk at the visitor center, taken basically from the created dunes. Next slide. Here's a shot looking north. I just wanted to have this up here to show you can see that the when the waves are coming ashore, it's getting up on the dunes, eroding those constantly. Next slide. Here's a view looking south from the north end of the project. There's a little bit of vegetation, approximately about 45 linear feet on the north end. It is sparse, but there is some there. Next slide. Here's a view looking east from the top of the dune there on the north end. You can see the waves are getting, all the way up. And one of the things I want to point out on the slide as well is the flat beach profile. So when you just have a little bit of tide change, this photo was taken shortly after low tide. So when the tide cycle turns around, it is getting up in that darker area right next to the dunes. Next slide. Here's the overall project map. And there's several photos showing some zoomed in views, but essentially what we have here is DOT is proposing 1,300 linear feet of dune reconstruction as shown by the green cross hatching. And the next slide will show the actual post sandbags alignment. So again, the green is the proposed dune reconstruction area. This is the south end of it. And the red cross hatching is indicating the actual alternative sandbag alignment. Next slide. Here's the middle section right in front of the visitor center. Again, the green is the proposed dune reconstruction area, and the red is the sandbag area. The one thing to note here is the normal high water line does come up slightly into the dune reconstruction area, but it does not get into the sandbag alignment. Next slide. And this is the northern end of the project area. Extends approximately 200 feet beyond the visitor center there. Next slide. This is a cross section of the proposed sandbag arrangement and proposed dune reconstruction. So the there will be 2 rows of these sandbags. It'd be the first row would be 8 feet have basal width. The second row will be 6 for combined 14-foot total width along the base of it. It would be 10 foot from the edge of pavement. They will be buried 2 foot below the top of pavement level. And then the dune would actually be approximately 25 feet, over top of the bags, and it would extend, entirely over the bags. So they would be covered after construction. Next slide. There's a spec sheet for the perma shield that is being proposed. These sandbags are, the first row again is 8 foot wide, and combined, 2 rows would be 14 foot wide. The length on these bags is actually 50 feet, and there's you can see that photo on the bottom left actually shows there's a baffle every 2 feet, and these would be filled from the top. It's one of the things slightly different about these bags as opposed to being hydraulically filled from the surf. The DOT would actually be able to bring in fuel and with a special device. I think we have another slide showing that, but they're basically they go in a lot quicker than typical sandbags, and they would not be drawing the sand material from the surf zone. So next slide. This is a photo showing the actual site, and the DOT representative there is holding a GIS position stake with, this is indicating the waterward edge of the sandbag alignment toward the south end of the project. Next slide. This is the sandbags actually being installed at Myrtle Beach. You can see there's a device the contractor uses to basically prop up the bags, and with a basically excavator that can take the sand and just really fill these bags very quickly. They will just extend along and move that that framework as they extend the bags. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is the bags also at Myrtle Beach after they've been filled. 2 rows, just like the proposal of this project. And you will notice they are white in color. It's the only color that the bags are made in. This is essentially what they would look like at this site, prior to coverage. Next slide. DOT is looking at long-term solutions. They have obtained a SAND grant to fund a study of long-term comprehensive solutions to try to keep the Highway 12 open for the future. It's in the works. I know they're pursuing that funding and have actually obtained it. So that is their long-term plan right now, is to figure out the best solution. Next slide. And with this, I'll turn it over to Kristen.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. So I'll just run through the facts and then summarize quickly DCM's position on the 4 criteria. So DOT owns and maintains the public right-of-way easement through Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge on Hatteras Island in Dare County. It's shown on the site plans as we've seen, and the site of the variance request is near the refuge's visitor center located within the refuge on Hatteras Island. As we know, NC 12 provides the only roadway connection between the mainland and Hatteras Island. Beach erosion, dune loss, and risk to Highway 12 have been particularly severe near the Refuge Visitor Center. This area has been identified as a hotspot since at least 2002. It was the NC 12 task force in a February 2023 report that was linked in your materials. This hotspot area is characterized by low topography and low elevations, transitioning from the refuge ponds to a flat beach and ocean within a few hundred feet. The hotspot is located within the Ocean Erodible AEC, and pursuant to the CAMA statute would require a CAMA permit for development in that area. The 2020 CRC average annual erosion rate at the visitor center hotspot is 7.5 feet per year. The total width of the island at this location ranges between 3,500 and 5,800 feet. However, much of that area is occupied by the refuge ponds, as we saw in the photographs. The area of land through which Highway 12 travels between the ocean and refuge ponds is as narrow as 245 feet. Due to storm and tidal events and the geomorphology of this area, the hotspot is susceptible to shoreline erosion, overwash, coastal flooding, the loss of beach and dunes and sand cover. These circumstances can undermine the integrity of the road, making travel by the general public unsafe and forcing DOT to close the road. CAMA Major Permit number 8699, initially issued in 1999, but modified several times since then, authorizes DOT to perform dune maintenance along Highway 12 on Hatteras Island. The most recent renewal of this permit was in December 2021 for a period of 5 years. A coastal storm during November 15th through 17th of this year severely impacted the primary dune along Highway 12 at the visitor center hotspot. Ocean overwash removed approximately 1,000 linear feet of dune, exposing the highway's edge of pavement to the high surf. The roadway flooding and pavement drop-off produced hazardous traffic conditions, so DOT temporarily closed the road to all traffic. Then DOT temporarily rebuilt the primary dune as maintenance work under permit 8699. DOT now proposes repairing 1,300 linear feet of primary dune and installing 1,100 linear feet of perma-shield trapezoidal sandbags along Highway 12 as shown in the materials. Approximately 1,300 linear feet of the dune would be removed to allow placement of the sandbag structure, and then a dune would be rebuilt covering those sandbags. DOT is committed to developing a vegetation plan with DCM, WRC, and the refuge for the reconstructed dune in those areas that have vegetation at the time the project starts. The proposed sandbag structure being requested would meet the following specifications. The temporary sandbags would be the multicellular trapezoidal shaped woven polypropylene, white in color as represented in the materials, placed in 2 adjoining rows parallel to the seashore. The oceanward row would be 6 feet high and have 8-foot base, and the landward row would be 4 foot high with a 6-foot base. Both rows would be placed 2 feet below the grade of the roadway and directly adjacent to each other to have a combined base of 14 feet. The sandbags would be placed 10 feet from the edge of the pavement. The sandbags and reconstructed dune would be placed within the DOT right-of-way. They would be dry filled with clean sand from a stockpile nearby. The sand would be compatible and have the same general characteristics of the sand in the existing dune. The sand would also be used to construct a dune on the bags approximately 6 foot high and 20 foot wide. Sand would not be dredged from the swash zone on the beach, and there would be no wetland impacts. There would be approximately 950 square feet of open water impacts, where a portion of the dune would extend below the normal high water. DOT's permit modification request to install 1,100 linear feet of sandbags was granted by DCM on December 4th of this year. However, the CAMA permit was modified. The CAMA permit modification imposed conditions, including the following conditions from which DOT now petitions the commission for a variance. Condition 9, which requires that bags be tan in color, 3 to 5 feet wide, 7 to 15 feet long when measured flat, and that the size of the structure not exceed 20 feet wide by 6 feet high. Condition 12, no development shall be permitted that involves the removal or relocation of primary or frontal dune sand or vegetation that would adversely affect the integrity of the dune's function as a protective barrier against flooding and erosion. And then condition 13, no portion of the proposed dunes should be placed below normal high water. So DOT is seeking a variance from permit conditions 9, 12, and 13 in order to construct the sandbag structure as proposed in their modification request of November 24th of this year. We went through the modification process, which included some coordination. That included with Fish and Wildlife, who is the only adjacent riparian landowner here. They had no objection to DOT's proposed structure in that location. Their comments are attached to the material. The Fish and Wildlife also on December 13th, Friday, issued a special use permit for this project. The minor modification of CAMA 8699 that was issued in December includes a note that says the permittee is advised that approval from Fish and Wildlife Service and/or the Park Service may be required for work within the Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge. If required, these approvals shall be obtained prior to the initiation of any activities. DCM received comments from Fish and Wildlife on December 2nd, indicating that a Section 7 consultation would be required for piping plovers and sea turtles. Notice of the proposed project was also put on DCM's website, and in your materials is a screenshot of that, as well as pictures of the posted notices that were placed at the visitor center. DCM has not received any comments from the public regarding this project. The Corps authorized the proposed project also last Friday through a regional general permit, a copy of which is in your materials. DWR issued you the 401 on December 9th for this project. These type of sandbags were previously granted variances by this commission, one in February 2022 for the area at the new cul-de-sac at the end of Verdanthe, at the base of the at one end of the jug handle bridge. And those are the photographs that we saw where the bags were being installed. The commission previously also granted a variance in 2020 for these to be used at the north end of Ocracoke Island, but those were not used after the variance was granted because of funding at that time. So that's the end of the stipulated facts. Staff and the petitioners agree on all 4 facts, so I'll quickly summarize. On the first factor, DOT is seeking a variance from 0308C 1 through 3, which are the Commission's dune protection, establishment, restoration, and stabilization rules. These rules require that development does not involve the removal of a dune, that new dunes shall be aligned with adjacent natural dunes, and that dunes shall not be broadened or extended in an oceanward direction. In this case, DOT proposes to remove some existing dune, and then after placing the sandbag structure within the right-of-way, and landward of high water, to cover it with sand and revegetated in areas where there had been natural vegetation. There does not appear to be room within the right-of-way to place sandbags and sand to construct a new dune landward of the existing dunes. DOT is also seeking a variance from the sandbag orientation, size, and color rules found at 0308 B2L in order to use these non-standard size sandbags and to authorize the use of white instead of tan bags. The commission sets limitations on the size of individual sandbags to ensure that they are well-defined and limited in application. In this case, DOT seeks to use these differently designed and installed sandbags because they state that the trapezoidal design is stronger than traditional sandbags and that the material will hold up better than the fabric in traditional sandbags. They also note that they can be installed at a faster rate. On the second factor, do the hardships result from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as size, location, or topography? Staff agree that yes, this hotspot has a high erosion rate and is particularly narrow at this location, making it vulnerable to damage from erosion. There's also little elevation in this area, leaving imminently threatened Highway 12 particularly vulnerable. On the third factor, staff agree that the hardships facing DOT in maintaining safe travel in the visitor center hotspot do not result from actions taken by DOT. Multiple studies have happened, and we've long recognized the vulnerability of this area, and DOT has made efforts to develop and implement a long-term solution to maintain Highway 12. And finally, the last factor, spirit, purpose, and intent, public safety and welfare and substantial justice. Staff agrees that yes, the new sandbag structure and created dune meets the spirit of the commission's rules, where it will help retain access and safe transportation along Highway 12 in this area. While it will impact existing dunes, DOT proposes to construct dunes on top of the sandbag structure within the existing right-of-way. Staff also agrees that the proposed use of alternative sandbags that are larger and white in color in order to maintain access on 12 in the area of the visitor center hotspot, while DOT continues to study alternatives to maintain transportation longer term, is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the commission's rules. Staff agrees that construction of the sandbag structure and the dune and the use of the alternative bags will secure public safety and welfare, and it will preserve substantial justice, as it will allow the petitioner to protect 12 in the short and midterm with alternative sandbags, while continuing to work towards a long-term solution for transportation along Hatteras Island. I'll go ahead and turn it over now to Mr. Justice on behalf of NCDOT, and he'll summarize the facts, and then we can take questions as needed. Colin.
Thank you, Christy. My name is Colin Justice. I am an attorney with NCDOJ. I represent DOT. I wanted to just go over a few of the main points from DOT's perspective, and then answer questions that you may have. Looking at the 4 variance factors, DOT thinks that strict application of the rules would present an unnecessary hardship, because the size and color rules would prevent DOT from using these alternative shaped sandbags that we think will be more durable, that they'll be installed faster, which will mean allowing the project to be done before turtle nesting season in February, and would allow a shorter period of time of impact to the current dune. The way that these can be filled with dry sand also means less impact, because we don't have to use a hydraulic pump to pump across the beach to fill traditional sandbags. So we think that applying the rules strictly would prevent DOT from being able to do this repair as effectively, as quickly, and from minimizing impacts. The setback requirements, as Mr. Lane showed with the photos, in this area, there's times at high water when the waves are hitting the existing dune, so there's simply not space to set the dune back any further. The road is in a very narrow spot there between the Refuge Visitor Center building and ponds and the ocean shore, so there's just not much space to deviate. We're asking to do this work still within the current DOT right-of-way, which also minimizes impacts. And then on the third rule we're asking for the variance for, regarding removing and relocation of dune, the plan would be to remove the section that's vulnerable, simply to install the sandbags and then reconstruct it in the same spot. So it would not be a permanent removal of the dune, it would be removal to allow the sandbags to go in underneath it. Regarding the second factor, we think that these hardships result from conditions particular to the property and the natural weather forces acting there. There's a high erosion rate in this area. Historically, it's been very vulnerable. The NC-12 task force that involves Dare and Hyde counties, NCDOT, has involved a lot of cooperation from DCM, other federal and state agencies, the Refuge, the Seashore. They've recognized this as a problem area for at least the last 20 years. There's, as I mentioned, very little space between the water and the Refuge Visitor Center and the ponds. And the beach profile is very flat here. We don't think these hardships result from actions by DOT. They're simply from those natural factors. This is a very unique part of North Carolina. On the fourth factor, DOT thinks that this variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the rules. The goal is to protect the road while minimizing impacts. We've received either no comment or positive comments from the commenters as far as I'm aware, from the Refuge, Seashore, Corps of Engineers, DCM, Wildlife Resources, and others. Another benefit of these trapezoidal bags we're asking to use is that the overall width would be smaller. For traditional sandbags, the width would be allowed to be up to 20 feet. This could be done with only 14 feet wide using the 2 rows of bags. So that would allow DOT to minimize the impact, we think. In particular, we think that these bags would be easier to clean up after any storm damage or when they're removed when no longer necessary. That's a fact that the Refuge found particularly appealing in their comments, that it would be easier to clean up debris. We think that this would secure public safety and welfare. NC 12 is the only roadway connection to Hatteras Island, and when it's closed, it makes access for emergency services, for school, for work, for any purpose very difficult. The only alternatives are emergency ferries or ferry from Ocracoke Island to Cedar Point, which is quite a distance in the other direction. So we think that this would be important for public safety and the economy. We think that this would preserve substantial justice. It allows the public to maintain access to Hatteras Island while the agencies continue to cooperate on long-term solutions. It's a difficult area to plan transportation for, but NCDOT and DCM and the Refuge and the National Seashore, Army Corps of Engineers, EPA, many others have been working on transportation plans in this area for a long time and continue to cooperate well. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Colin. Do any commissioners have any questions for either Christy or Colin?
I do, Chair. Go ahead.
Bob, I see your hand first right now. You're muted, Bob.
I just wanted to say that I am here and have no conflict.
Okay, thank you. Jordan?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Had a couple questions. I was reading the stipulated, I guess, facts, and WRC, it says they had no additional comments. Were there comments in the beginning that aren't included in this packet?
If I'm remembering correctly, the prior comments were that they wanted to conduct consultation about species impacts, but there weren't any negative comments.
Okay, so when they say they have no additional comments, there were other comments in the beginning that are not part of this.
I'm assuming it could have been for the prior variance.
That's possible too.
Could Kathy or Stephen enlighten us?
So I believe those comments were in respect to there's the turtles and bird moratoriums, and these bags would be installed prior to any moratoriums kicking in. So I believe that's what those were in reference to. This was a modification of an existing permit, and this moratoriums had been in place for this permit.
Okay. So there was a variance request for a similar project in 2020, is that correct?
Yes.
2020 and 2022, yes. The commission has granted variances twice before.
Okay, twice. And were they pretty much the same? I wasn't on commission at the time, so was it the same size, restrictions, color restrictions? I'm just trying to figure out what.
It was the same, sorry, it was the same use as the PermaShield One was proposed at the north end of Ocracoke, but was not ever installed for financial reasons, timing, something like that. The ones at the north end of Rodanthe were installed, and that's what we saw pictures of.
Overall, I mean, I'm in support of it. It's definitely needed. It's the lifeline for Hatteras Island, and DOT does an outstanding job day in and day out during storms and keeping that road open for the folks at Hatteras Island. I like, as a conversation with the whole entire commission, to see about if there's a way to change our rule for DOT sandbag projects to allow them a little more streamlined process to be able to get these projects done quicker. I think last month at our CRC meeting, Superintendent Halleck mentioned when he first started over a decade ago, there was 500 feet of sandbags that he had permitted in the park, and now I think he said over 7,000 feet of sandbags now permitted. So I'm guessing this will add to over 8,000 feet of sandbags permitted. Is that correct?
I don't think it's in the stipulated facts about prior. Yeah, sorry.
But so I think that as a whole, I think the commission should look at trying to streamline this process, recognizing that the rapid increased use of sandbags to keep Highway 12 open and protect people's private property down on Hatteras Island. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions by any commissioners? If not, would anyone like, Bob, do you have a question?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Would anyone like to make a motion on criteria 1, which is, will unnecessary hardships result from strict application of the rules, standards, or orders?
Chair Cahoon, this is Neil Andrew. I'd like to make a motion. We accept petitioner and staff's position of yes for criteria 1, unnecessary hardships would result from strict application of the development rules, standards, or orders.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Larry Baldwin seconds.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Angela, please call the roll.
Chair Cahoon,
Check aye.
Commissioner Andrew,
Aye.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Emery,
Aye.
Commissioner Hennessy,
Aye.
Commissioner High,
Aye.
Commissioner Holman,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Yates.
Aye.
Did I miss any commissioners? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is a unanimous 10 votes.
Thank you, Angela. Next would be criteria 2, which would be,
Chair Cahoon, Neil Andrew again. I make a motion. We accept petitioner and staff's position of yes on criteria 2. The hardships result from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography.
thank you. Is there a second?
Larry Baldwin seconds.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, Angela, call the roll, please.
Chair Cahoon,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew,
Aye.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Emery,
Aye.
Commissioner Hennessy,
Aye.
Commissioner High, Commissioner Holman,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Yates.
Aye.
That's unanimous as well.
Thank you. Next up would be criteria 3. Do the hardships result from actions taken by the petitioner? Is there a motion?
Chair Cahoon, this is Neil Andrew. I make a motion. We accept petitioner and staff's position of no with regards to variance criteria 3. The hardships did not result from actions taken by the petitioner.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Larry Baldwin seconds.
Thank you. Any discussion? Not, Angela, please call the roll.
Chair Cahoon,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew,
Aye.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Emery,
Aye.
Commissioner Hennessy,
Aye.
Commissioner High, Commissioner Holman,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Yates.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. And finally, criteria 4 is requested variance consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the rules, standards, or orders, will secure public safety and welfare, and will preserve substantial justice. Is there a motion?
Chair Cahoon, this is Neil Andrew. I make a motion, we accept petitioner and staff's position of yes for variance criteria 4. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the rules, standards, or orders, will secure public safety and welfare, and will preserve substantial justice.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Larry Baldwin seconds.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Angela, please call the roll.
Chair Cahoon,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew,
Aye.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Aye.
and
Aye. Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Emery,
Aye.
Commissioner Hennessy,
Aye.
Commissioner High,
Aye.
Commissioner Holman,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Yates.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The variance is granted. DOT, I wish you well on getting all those sandbags installed. It's going to be a rough winter, it looks like. I'd like to thank all the commissioners for their time this morning, as well as staff time in putting this together. I know it was a very busy time. So thank you all. I wish everyone a very happy holiday, and I'll see you in February. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.